عز من قال بعد العياذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا أو كما قال يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما وهو القائل يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the beneficent and the most merciful, Lord of this world and the hereafter, the only one that we worship that deserves to be worshipped. We ask of Him to assist us in worshiping Him the right way. Keep us on the path of those whom He is pleased with, not that of those whom He is displeased with. Ameen. Know I for sure that whomever Allah guide can never be misguided, and whomsoever Allah lets go astray can never be guided. I testify that there is none that is worthy of worship but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the seal of His messenger. He sent him with the truth. He came and set us on the path, so bright that the night of which is brighter than a day. None gets off that path except those who are destined to hellfire, and may Allah protect us from that. Ameen. Know for sure that the best of word that ever Quran al-Kareem, the book of Allah, the best of guidance, the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Worst of deed are those that are innovated in this deen. For innovated deed could lead one astray, and astray could find his way to hellfire, and may Allah protect us from that. Ameen. Beloved brothers and sisters, it is known that a nubuwah, a prophecy, is not something that one attains by juhd. Efforts does not give one prophethood. Worshipping Allah a lot, being kind, and being offering of the qualities that are good does not make you a prophet. Prophethood is a choice of Allah, that He chooses those whom He chooses among the angels and the human beings and send them to be prophets. Allah said, Allahu yastafi min al-malaikati rusulan wa min al-nas. Allah chooses out of human beings and the angels those whom He will send as prophethood. So it is a choice of Allah, not by effort of a human being. But amongst those whom He chooses to be prophets, He chooses some of them to be above the others. There are those whom the prophets are higher than the other prophets. There are those whom are called Ulul Azm, Sayyidina Nuh, Sayyidina Ibrahim, Musa, Isa, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. These are the best of the prophets. They are called Ulul Azm. Amongst the those, Allah chose two, Al-Khalilain, Ibrahim or Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And amongst them, He chooses Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Khayru Khalqillahi, the best of the creation. He, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah praised Him. After He created Him and made Him whom He is, He sent Him to us and tells Him, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Indeed, I've sent you to be a messenger. To be a messenger? No, to be mercy to mankind. He, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, comes to embody mercy to mankind. None denies the mercifulness of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam except those who are deniers, those who are afraid that Islam will spread. The time when He told the Sahaba, in Mecca, and He was telling them, this deen, لَيَبْلُغَنَّ هَذَا الْأَمْرِ مَبْلَغَ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ. Indeed, this situation, this issue, this deen of Muhammad, this deen of Allah will reach the place where night and day will reach. The Sahabas didn't know what He was talking about. وَلَا يَتْرُكُ بَيْتَ وَبَرٍ مَدَرٍ وَلَا وَبَرٍ. He will not leave a hole that it would not enter. إِلَّا أَدْخَلَهُ اللَّهُ هَذَا الدِّينَ. Allah would leave no house that this deen would enter. But the Sahabas believe, سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا. عِزًّا يُعِزُّ بِهِ اللَّهُ الْإِسْلَامِ وَذِلًّا يُذِلُّ بِهَا الْكُفْرِ. And it will be humiliation that Allah would humiliate kufr. That is with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in his nature, in his creation, fitratuhu, Allah told him, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَذًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَنْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. Indeed, by the mercy of Allah, you become the most kind of the kind. You must become the light and gentle of the gentle. So that's why people flock around you. As Ummah Muhammad, our role is to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ. Those who love Allah and wants Yawm al-Qiyamah needs to follow Sayyidina Muhammad as a role model. What is this ayah tells us? لِنْتَ لَهُمْ وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَذًّا قَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَنْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. To be kind and gentle to those whom are around you. That's how he called the people to this deen. As Muslims, how kind are we to those who are around us? Qudwatun hasana. We show kindness to the family that is around us. Our spouses, our children, our neighbors, our co-workers, people that we meet on the street. Show the kindness of Al-Islam, they will enter into Islam. It is not the da'wah that you call the people to tell them come enter, but it is the way you behave that makes them enter. It is said that those who went to the Far East Asia, Malaysia and Singapore, those places, Indonesia has the largest population of Muslims. There was no Saraya, or there was no army who went there to fight. It is the Yemenites who went there visiting, doing business and transactions. But rahmatan and leenul qalb, kindness and gentleness that they demonstrated is what made them flock into this deen. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرُهُ. You and I need to be those who will be kind enough, show leenul qalb and gentleness and kindness for people to love this deen of ours. Because Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam showed this love of this deen. Shaykh Ibrahim Yas al-Kawlakh, he said, Nabiyun, Kareemun, Rahmatun, wa Rahatun. He said, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is a prophet. He is a generous prophet. He is a mercy. And he is indeed is a peace of mind. Bihi yaqtadi al-akwanu ila li'amiha. Those who wants to be good, yaqtaduna ala Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam towards Allah. So this is Muhammad. He was Kareem, generous, Rahmah, mercy to mankind, and knowing him, being around him, brings you into calm and tranquility and peace of mind. Nabiyun, Kareemun, Rahmatun, wa huwa rahatun, muqimun, mubinun, zawil ula wal mafakhiri. That's how he praised him. He said, Muhammad, indeed he is a Nabi, a prophet, a messenger, Kareemun, generous, Rahmatun, mercy, as Allah described him, and Rahatun, Muqimun Mubinun. He comes to emphasize and he comes to explain and show us the path of Allah. Zawil Ula wal Mafaqiri, someone to be praised and someone to be glorified, to be honored as Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So this is the signs of a believer demonstrating Qudwa as Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. وَمِن مَزَاهِرِ رَحْمَتِهِ, signs of him being merciful to children. Osama ibn Zayd, you say, the Prophet used to pick me up and put me on his right lap. And he put Hassan ibn Ali and put him on his left lap. And yadummuna, he will hold us. And he will say, Allahumma irhamhuma fa inni arhamuhuma. Oh Allah, have mercy on them. Indeed, I have mercy on them. That is a lesson for you and I, to be picking up our own children, the children of our neighbors, the children that we meet and say, Allahumma irhamhuma. Mercy of Allah, whatever it touches, it is blessed. So asking Allah to have mercy on the children, that's how Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught us, to pray for the children, showing his mercy towards the children. So what is a rahmah? Mercy, rahmah, is something that is within the heart. Allah puts it in the being of a human person. And that human being, that mercy, is something that manifests in the behavior of the person. The behavior of the person or the behavior of the creation shows the rahmah that is within the heart of the creation. You and I can see the animals. If you watch Planet Animals, and you will see a bull, or you would see a cow or a herd of animals, a lion would attack them. The mother would come and put her life on line to save the children. That is a rahmah. That is a rahmatun fitriyah. That is the rahmah that is innate within the creation. If the animals have that rahmah, we have that rahmah. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said to the Sahaba, Tarahamu. And they turn to him and say, well, Ya Rasulullah, innana nataraham. Have mercy on one another. He said, no. And indeed we have mercy on one another. He said, but hiya rahmatun amma. The mercy that is manifested in general to all mankind. That mercy is when you have this feeling within you. You see another human being who is suffering, you feel their pain. You see somebody, another human being who is content, you feel their happiness. When was the last time you and I sat and watched the television and see what is going on in Gaza? And you went home and you didn't eat your meal. When was the last time you sit at dinner with your family and you were watching the CNN or the ABC or one of these channels telling you how many schools were demolished by the Jews? How many children were killed so far? Counting up to 41,000 and counting. What happened to your heart? If there was no tenderness within your heart, if you haven't shed a tear yet, revisit your rahmah, revisit your mercy, because those are human beings, those are Muslims who are suffering, and you were told as a Muslim by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Lan tu'minu hatta tahabu." You will never be a believer until you love one another. He has told us, you and I, "Lan takunu mu'minin hatta tuhibba ma li akhika ma tuhibbuhu li nafsik." You will never be a believer until you want for your brother what you want for yourself. I watched the other day a journal, on the television. It was Al Jazeera. This woman is sitting down from Gaza, and she has a bag. In the bag, there were clothing, there were belt, there was a soccer ball, there was the shoes, and she is saying, these are the shoes of Zayd. These are the garments of Zayd. These are the shoes of Zayd. Zayd was going into the tent to collect food, and the tent was burned. And you and I have our own Zayd waking up in the house doing what they do best. And we do best is to love them. But we have no feeling for the other human beings and other Muslims dying. And it is the non-Muslims who are protesting all over the world today for what's going on in Gaza, more than the Muslims are doing. In the Muslim world, when the Muslims are talking about it, they get jailed. Where is the rahmah? That is the rahmatun amma. You and I as a believer, we need to have this rahmah as the Prophet ﷺ had it, even for the animals. And he said, Inna Allah kataba al-ihsan ala kulli shay'in. Allah told you to make ihsan, to make perfection on everything. Even when you are killing an animal, make your knife sharp so that the animal doesn't feel the pain. Make the animal not feel the pain. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam found somebody slaughtering an animal, but another animal is right next to it to be slaughtered later. He said, Zabahtahu marratayn. You have killed the animal twice by letting him watch his brother getting killed for him to die. Mercy from the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that is teaching us. And this deen, it is nothing but وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was sent so I can perfect your manners, your behaviors, your way to live with one another. So adna darajatul rahmah, the lowest level of mercy is rahmatun fitriyah, that you show to your family and you show to your children. You show to those whom you know. You show those who look like you. You show to those who came from the same country. But when it's somebody else who's suffering, somebody else who is getting into difficulties, your answer would be Mali wa malahu falahu rabbun falyad'u. What do I have to deal with him? Let him pray. He is not from my own country. We created these artificial borders around the world, around the Muslim world. We created this organization around the Muslim world, the haves and the have-nots. Where is the mercy of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Where is the mercy? When you have this sensation of feeling the pain pain of the other, then you have rahmah. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Allah described him being the best. لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْكُمْ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. Two names that he shares with Allah. Rauf, and Allah is a Rauf, Allah is a Rahim. Muhammad, Allah described him, he is a Rauf and a Rahim. He is the merciful to you, and he is the one that has kindness towards you. We are arhamun nasi bi arhami nafs anfusihinna. He is more merciful to us than we are to ourselves. He is teaching us to be merciful to one another, to be kind, to have again for one another. You and I passes the corner, there is somebody who's standing right at the corner and he's begging. Not that we don't even give him a sadaqah, but we judge him. He's an alcoholic. He's a druggie. If I give him, this is what he's going to do with it. Who tells you that person is not an angel, that Allah sent him on the corner just to test you? Just to test you what you will do. Remember the Sahabi who was going to visit his friend, and he was walking, and the angel comes to him and asks him, where are you going? He said, I'm going to visit my friend. He said, do you have any business with him? He said, no. Do you have any relationship with him? He said, no. What are you visiting him for? He said, I'm visiting him because I love him for the sake of Allah. He said to him, I'm an angel. Allah sent me to tell you he loves you the way you love your brother. So if Allah could send an angel to come and do that to that person, why cannot he send an angel to send him on the corner to watch you and I see what you're going to do? When you give, give. When you have mercy, you have mercy. It doesn't have any exception. Give it as a Muslim would give it. This is rahmatun that Allah would put in your heart. If you lack it, you don't have it. Shaykh Ibrahim al-Kawlahi describes him, فَمِنَّا أَتَانَا. He, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as Allah said, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ. Has he been anything other than a human being like us? He would have said, what he can do, I cannot do. But Allah said, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ. Indeed, it came a prophet, a messenger, مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ. From you, from your kind. Lives and eats and does what you guys do, but he is a Rasul. Shaykh Ibrahim said, فَمِنَّا, from us, أَتَانَا رَمُسَّلًا وَهُوَ رَحْمَةٌ. He came from one of us, Rasulan, messenger from Allah, indeed he is a Rahmah. مِنَ اللَّهِ مَوْلَى الْقَلْقِ أَعْظِمْ بِقُلْقِهِ. He came, Allah sent to him, glorify him for his characteristics. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He is Jalilun, Jamilun, وَهُوَ شَاكِرٌ. أتى رحمة للكون من كر المحض. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came as a Jalil, an honorable one, Jamilun, a handsome man, Sabirun, a patient man, Shakirun, grateful person. Allah said, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَذِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you're grateful, I will increase you. Indeed, he shows us how to be grateful. He showed us how to be grateful to Allah when he stood up praying until his feet swollen. And Aisha would ask him, why would you do this to yourself? He said, and Allah had forgiven all of your sins. He said, أَفَلَا أَكُونُ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. That's who was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His mercy. So show mercy to those whom you have an opportunity to show mercy to. أقول ما تسمعون واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه يا فوز المستغفرين. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا فاعلموا أن من يهديه الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله. But rahmah can be rahmatun mu'dhiya, a harmful mercy. You and I have children. We love them so much. We give them whatever they want. Without exception. If they cry for ice cream, you give them ice cream. But he is a juvenile diabetic. He was born with diabetes. You kill him with that ice cream. That is a juvenile diabetes that you're feeding ice cream because you don't want him to cry. That is your child that wants an iPhone. You gave him an iPhone. You gave him an iPhone 16 without any parental guidance, any parental control, and he goes on. The next day, you would hear that your child committed a suicide And you would wonder why. Because he was lost within the social media that took him out and showed him the path that would depress him upon himself for him to kill himself. You are the reason. So we need to know rahmah with the control when it comes to those who need to be controlled, those who need to have this mercy with control. They need to get what they get when they need to be getting it. Not any time what they want will satisfy their needs. A man came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he asked him that I have khaswatul qalb. Khaswatul qalb, hard-heartedness. I don't feel the pain of the others. He said, Imsah ala ra'sil yatim, wat'imhu min ta'amik. Go find an orphan and rub on his head and feed him on your food. The Prophet ﷺ didn't tell him to find a doll, somebody, and just rub on their head. But he tells him to rub on the head of that child, to know that the day that this child has no longer a father, your child can have one day that he will no longer have a father. You tell you that to feel the pain that this child is feeling, your children could feel one day. That will yalin qalbak, that will soften your heart. At'imim min ta'amik, feed him of the food that you eat. Don't go buy steak and buy him a burger. Feed him on what you feed, what you eat, so that you know, lan tanalul birra hatta tunfiqu mimma tuhibbun. You will never reach the highest level until you spend of the best that you want. So the rahmah that you want to have, feel it by doing this, by finding somebody who needs and give him what they have, knowing that you could be in that place. Anfiqu mimma razaqnakum is what Allah said. Not anfiqu mimma iktasabtum. Anfiqu, spend from what I gave you. It's Allah who gave it to you. And you will never die and take it with you. That is what shows you love from the best of what you love. Signs of showing rahmah. A woman locked up a cat and not let the cat go to get a drink and die and goes to hell. She did not let the cat go get a drink or get food and lock the cat. By punishing the animal, Allah sends him to hell. What about another human being that you are mistreating? A man walks up to the well and he was thirsty and he puts the water, gets the water to drink. And he turns around and finds a dog standing by, licking the ground because the dog was thirsty. He felt the pain of the dog. He put a shoe in and gave the dog water and let the dog drink. Allah into him Jannah. When it will be the time for you and I to see those who need and we give them just because they need. There is a qanun, there is a law of khaswatul qalb. Al-fisq, this is what he say. Al-fisq idha tala. إذا تال أمده أورث قسوة القلب. الفسق, immorality, if one does it for a long time, أورث قسوة القلب. If you do it immorality for a long time, you end up with a hard-heartedness. And then he said, الفسق يسبب بعدا عن الله. Immorality pushes you away from Allah. وَالْعَمَلُ الصَّالِحِ, doing a good deed, يُقَرِّبُ إِلَى اللَّهِ. Good deed, يُقَرِّبُ مِنَ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ, brings you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالْقُرْبُ إِلَى اللَّهِ يُلَيِّنُ الْقَلْبِ, softens your heart. So if you're having feeling that I don't feel the pain of the others, start doing good deeds and see what it will do to you. It'll get you closer to Allah. Start spending for those who need. Start feeling the pain of the others. Start doing what other people benefit from. Start thinking about who you're going to vote for this election, because it counts. What will happen to the Muslim Ummah? This will count. You are a believer. This is your obligation. This is not a political party move, but it is a Muslim. Man ra'a munkaran minkum falyughayyiru. Any one of you who sees something unjust, let him change it. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ. When you're not able to do it, talk about it. When you cannot talk about it, at least that we can do is to hate it in your heart. But look what's going on in the Ummah to Muhammad. And then you turn around, look at what's going on the other side of Ummah to Muhammad. You're going into Yemen, they're bombed all the time. You're going into Gaza is bombed every time. Now it's Lebanon is being bombed all the time. Sudan, the two armies leaders are killing one another. Over 1 million people are dying of starvation in Sudan. But you go to Dubai, and it is a party time. You go to Dubai, it's a party time. Like there is no Muslims that are suffering. This is what's going on in Ummah Muhammad. Where is the rahmah? وَبِمَا رَحْمَةٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَظًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. Where is the mercy? Where is the kindness? We've lost it. And it will not come back until we change. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah would never change a nation until they change themselves. And it starts with you and I changing one another. I have said what I've said. If anything is right, it's from Allah's mercy. Whatever is wrong is from my shortcomings. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His forgiveness. And I ask for your forgiveness. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا إننا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. يا ربي بذات والصفات كن لنا في سائر الحالات. ثبت قلوبنا على الإيمان وتهدنا لعمل الإحسان. انظر إلينا وانصرنا الدين. أدي حقوقنا وأدي دينا. وهب لنا ذرية مباركة تكون لله بلا مشاركة. وجزي كل من إلينا أحسنا وجازهم عنا جزاء الأحسن. بالمصطفى شفيع يوم المحشر خير الورى من قد حبي بالكوثر. عليه صلى ربنا وسلم وفاض بخيرنا وعمما. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين واخذل الكفرة والمشركين. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين واخذل الكفرة والمشركين. اللهم انصر إخواننا في غزة. اللهم ثبت أقدامهم. اللهم سدد رميهم. اللهم عليك بأعداء الدين. اللهم عليك بأعداء الإسلام. اللهم عليك بأعداء الإسلام. اللهم اجعل تدبيرهم في تدميرهم. اللهم زلزل الأرض من تحت أقدامهم. أرنا فيهم يوما كيوم عاد وثمود. اللهم أنت القائل ادعوني أستجب لكم. ها نحن دعوناك كما أمرتنا فأجبنا كما وعدتنا فإن لم تجب فمن ذا يرحم. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق الناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقدار العظيم. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. فاذكروا الله يذكركم ولذكر الله أكبر وأتم وأجل والله يعلم ما تصنعون. وأقم الصلاة.